Okay, children, I'm going to revise the poem, the first poem, My Mother at 66 with you. And this poem is written by Kamala Das. Please remember, huh? So the poet is, just hold on. Okay, the poet of the poem is Kamala Das. You have to remember, and you really have to recognize this because it comes for a 1-mark question sometimes. Alright, so the poet is Kamala Das, and the poet writes with the pen name Madhavi Kuti. She's from Kerala, and one of the first one of the first poets of India. Okay, and she's a very prolific English writer, and she comes from Malabar, Kerala. She has written many beautiful poems, and her subject matter is related to personalities. Most of the time it is about personalities, right? And in this poem, My Mother at 66, there are 2 themes that we talk about. What are the themes that we are talking about of the poem? One is separation, okay, and the second one is the beautiful relationship between a mother and her daughter. Between mother and daughter. Okay. In this poem, she talks about her mother. So the poem is based, again, I'm saying, on mother-daughter relation, and the poet shares her feeling for her mother. Right? Let me start the poem. Driving from my parents' house. Who is my here? My is the poet. My is the poet here. So the poet is telling us that once she went to visit her mother. She went to visit her parents, her mother. And she was going home to Cochin. So the poet's place is Cochin. Where is the poet from? Poet is from Cochin. Right? So she is going back to Cochin from her parents' place on a Friday morning, and then she notices something. On her way back to the airport to return to Cochin, she is driving and the mother is sitting on the passenger seat next to her. And there she saw her mother. I saw my mother beside me. Beside me means next to me. Sitting next to her. Okay, she was sitting on the passenger seat next to her, and when she saw her mother, what did she see? She saw her mother doze. Dozing means a short, light sleep. So she was not sleeping, she was just dozing. A short, slight sleep with her mouth open and her face ashen. Ashen means very pale, like ash, all yellow, with no color, no blood, no vitality, no kind of any beauty on her face. So she was like ash, very pale, like that of a corpse. Corpse means dead body. So she seemed to be like a dead body. And thinking about dead body, she was filled with pain. She was filled with pain because, I'll tell you once again, when her mother had dozed off to sleep, so she was sitting in the passenger seat and she was in a short light sleep. Her mouth was open and she was seated beside her in the car. The mother had dozed off to sleep and her aging face was smoky in color like ash. Her mouth was open and she resembled a dead body. The poet now realizes with pain that she was as old as she looked. That is, the poet realized that her mother was old. She was old, and she felt what kind of emotions did she feel now? She felt sympathy, she felt love, she felt care, and she felt sorry. Why sorry? Because she wasn't there to take care of her mother, right? So she realized that her mother was old, and she needed the sympathy, love, and care, and she felt sorry. The poet felt sorry, and she realized that her mother was very old and she might die very soon. So that thought of death was something that troubled her, and so she soon put that thought away. Which thought we are talking about here? That the mother was old and might die soon, right? So this thought she wanted to put away, and to put away that thought, what she does it, she wants to come out of the gloom. She wants to come out of that thought process. She wants to jerk away that thought that mother might die soon. So she does what? She looked out. She shifted her gaze. She shifted her glance, and she looked out of the car. Looked out from where? She looked out of car, and what does she see? She saw young trees pass by. Sprinting means running. Okay, here sprinting means running. Now why are the trees running, children? Because when the car is moving in one direction, there are trees which are on the side of the road. They also feel like running along with the car to the opposite direction. So she felt as if the trees were running, and the merry children were spilling out of their homes. Merry children means happy. Merry means happy. The happy children were spilling. Spilling means here moving out, running out in great numbers, moving or running out of their homes in great number. And she felt a little relieved, because here she wants to just take her thought process away from the mother's death to the little children who were running out of their houses into the playground, the young trees passing by. These things were contrary to the aging face of the mother. They were contrary to the aging mother, the almost dead mother. They symbolize energy, life, happiness. So both these images, trees and children, they symbolize what? They symbolize what? Energy, life, happiness, which is opposite of what she felt when she looked at her mother, and that is why she wanted to go through that thought process. Now they reached the airport, and after the airport's security check, she was standing a few yards away, looked at her again. So after the security check, the poet looked back at her mother, and she looked at her again, wan, pale. What is wan now? Wan means emotionally and physically tired. Emotionally and physically drained or tired. So she looked at her mother. She was wan, very unnaturally, very pale, and she was like a late winter's moon. So here the poet compares the face of her mother with the late winter's moon. Why is that? Just as the late winter's moon is dull because it is behind clouds and it is foggy all around, so the moon is not visible very clearly. So the moon is dull, it lacks luster. Mother is also pale, and it is lacking vitality and youth. And just as the late winter moon gets overshadowed, it gets overshadowed by fog. So the late winter gets overshadowed by fog and mist, and it is not clear, you could not see it very clearly. So similarly, her mother's also face also gets overshadowed. She could die anytime. So both of them are nearing an end, one of season and the other of life. They both are nearing an end. Winter, the winter's moon, end of season, and the other might end of life. So at this point, the poet feels the familiar ache. Ache means pain. Ache means pain. Familiar means something that she was scared of in her childhood also. Her childhood fear. What was that? Losing her mother. Right? She was feeling the pain of separation, leaving her mother and going. Also, her childhood fear of losing her mother, which she feels earlier was temporary. Earlier it was all temporary, but now when she sees her mother who is aging and who is pale and who is old, so that thought is haunting her, that she might not be able to see her mother. She is so pained that it is natural for her to cry. It is so it is natural for her to cry when she sees her mother like this. But she does not cry. Does she cry here? No. What she does is smile and smile. She does not want to cry. She hides her tears here. Hides her tears, and she does not want to show a bad face or a sad face to her mother. And she keeps on saying, "See you soon, Amma." And she keeps smiling and smiling. She hides her sorrow because she does not want to create a very painful environment for her mother, and she wants to convey her that she is enjoying her life. Similarly, her mother should also be very happy and must enjoy her own life, right? So she keeps on smiling and smiling. Why? There are 2 or 3 things which we can explain in this smile. One is doesn't want her mother to see her sad, right? Second explanation, what I feel is she is convincing her own self. When she's convincing that, no, I will not cry. I will see my mother soon. My mother is going to be there when I come next time. And that is why, to reassure her own self, she keeps on smiling and smiling and smiling. So this is what the poem is all about. I will revise this poem again with you. So firstly, when the poem opens, the poet is on her way to the Cochin airport with her old mother sitting beside her. The poet looks closely at her mother and presents before us the image that she saw of her mother. She compares the mother to a corpse. See, here it is simile, okay, which shows comparison between her mother's face and a corpse. Right? She looks at her mother's pale and pallid face, and she's stuck with horror and pain, because that pain of losing her is something that is really going to give her trouble. She compares the open mouth of her mother to that of a corpse. So here the poet shows the typical love and affection which is present in a mother and daughter relationship. Now the poet is very pained to see her mother's face like a dead body, and so she wants to look out of the window to drive out the negative feelings, and she wants to change her mood. And so she looks out of the window, and what does she see out? She sees growing life, energy, the trees running alongside, the merry children coming out of their homes. And so she is she's reminded of her own childhood when her mother had been young, and now she is old, and the fear of losing her is encrypting her. So she's at the airport now. They have reached the airport. Now that airport also indicates something, which is also indication of departure and separation, right?